Hello, friends. I guess we're doing this thing again. I wanted to start as usual by answering some of your questions from last time, and hopefully, then as questions come in, we'll jump on some of the newer questions. I did have a friend ask me a question, a real life friend, or they used to be. After my last video, they said, Brent. Were you in a bathrobe there? So this is my writing sweater, and I'm mortally offended. So that friend is no longer. See, sweater people, come on. All right. So now that that's clarified, I am seeing absolutely no no comments. So somebody throw a comment in here that Facebook has changed everything up yet again. So that is what caused me to screw things up last time, and I'm not sure that I haven't screwed things up this time. Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead as if everything is perfect. Comment moderation. Oh goodness, there's all sorts of new things that I can mess with. Okay, we're gonna pretend that everything's working just fine. Thank you, Krista. Nice to see you, and thanks for answering my question. With a question from Blaze Villano, if you could steal another writer's skill or ability, what would it be and from whom? Oh man, this is just going to start me out flying really close to pretension land. If I'd steal though, I'd have to steal from best. So I think one of the guys that I think of with a lot of envy is Mark Twain's handling of regional dialects. Tom Wolfe is probably his equal with contemporary dialects. So whenever I'm trying to write a dialect, I think of those guys and hate them greatly. I grew up in Montana, and so we kind of ended up with I shouldn't call it the bland Western accent, but with sort of the same accent that the TV news uses is kind of what we had, with the occasional hick thrown in on the side. So I used to think that this meant I didn't have any experience with dialect at all. And then I saw somebody who I won't name, even though I really want to, write a sort of a fantasy Western with a strong Western influence, and some of the dialect just really clanged for me, and I was like, this person learned how people speak in the American West from movies. So I actually do have a tiny little, totally useless bit of dialect experience. Otherwise, I just have to work really hard. If I weren't to steal that, I would probably grab Poe's ability to set a scene and kind of lay it thick and quickly with psychological horror. Although the scene setting and the character psychology in his books in his short stories is always kind of inseparable. Christopher Goodwin says, question. Oh, I shouldn't probably answer this one, but I'm going to. You mentioned in an article about plot twists that you were planning a twist in the Lightbringer series that even the characters wouldn't be aware of. Did you do this? And if so, what was it? Because I missed it. That's because it was so sly. Let's just say that it had to do. I really hate kind of interpreting things for you guys, but let's just say it had to do with the meta war that was kind of going on there, and only two characters get a glimpse into the fact that all of the events in the entire series were to set up those two characters to do what they did off screen at the very end of the series. How's that? So I hope now I've broken all my principles. Now I feel terrible. Oh well. There they go, flying out the window. Okay. Guarav Karanjakar says, hi, Brent. Love Lightbringer. Will you ever write a novel about the immortals? Yes. I've already done 5 of those. Sean Farian says, Do you struggle to give your characters weaknesses and flaws that help them be more human and relatable, or do they come to you fully formed? No, and also no. This is kind of the this is kind of the fun of this job. It's also always something that I'm going to be working on and doing wrong. To me, diversity in your characters doesn't mean that you have 5 characters with different skin tones who are all Upper East Side, privately educated, polyamorous, atheist, vegans. Diversity will include skin tone, but it's also going to include culture, nation of origin, political views, religion, no religion, or not really doesn't think about religion at all. It means people with different ways of experiencing the world. So this is something that we get to do in fiction that we can do better than I think any other medium. We actually get to be in the character's shoes. We get to experience how they feel about things, how they feel about the things they see, not just what they see or where they are, but how they experience those things. So, if you've got a bad leg, like those stairs, suddenly they look 10 feet tall to you. They look impossible to you. If you've got severe ADD, then that boring school worksheet, might as well be a tax return that's 200 pages long. It's just that impossible for you. And in fiction, we get to do those things. So to me, that's part of the challenge, and that's part of the fun of it. It's like we get to do that, and all we have to do is work really hard at it. One of the things that was really fun for me, and I'm going to pat myself on the back here because I'm by myself and I'm the only one here to do it. Was when a physician wrote to me, and he said that he'd counted something like 30 different ailments that characters experienced, or the ways that they were not, say, neurotypical, different things that maladies that characters had going on, or different ways of experiencing the world that they had going on, and that here I have these in a world where we don't have a scientific language for those, but that those are showing up, and that he was able to see those. Made me kind of excited that people actually do see that, and they go, oh, here's a character who has this thing, like somebody I know, or here's a character who has this thing, that's me, that's what I do. So I think that's something really fun about fiction. I think it's something I'm probably constantly doing wrong, and that I can always get better about, but that I want to work on. Like, I want the diversity of my worlds, of my characters to reflect all the cool and weird and fun and baffling diversity that we have in our own worlds. Okay. I've been going for how long have I've been going here? A really long time. Somewhere in 7 minutes and 48 seconds. Took me a little while with the new Facebook setup. I will answer maybe just 2 more. Okay, 2 more, and then I'll jump on your I'll jump on your live questions. Thanks for being patient with me. Scottbox says, Brent, what has been the or one of the most exciting minor characters to write? My mind immediately went to Gunner, and I thought, well, maybe Orholm the Prophet, and then no, maybe Murder Sharp. Yeah. I think it's got to be Murder Sharp, the creepy, sick weirdo who just seems oddly, maybe a tiny little smidge redeemable. I really like minor characters because you get to experiment with those guys, and maybe some of those experiments are things that you absolutely could not maintain for an entire novel. I mean, like, one, to write a character, like to write an entire novel from Gunner's perspective it would just take years. It would be so hard to do. And if you read it, it would be absolutely exhausting. Like, I don't know who would want to read the whole thing. It would feel like punishment after a while, maybe a very short while. So minor characters are a great place to play and to get to work new muscles and try out new things that might not go so well. If you're missing the dialect, if you just can't quite get it right, then at least you're only screwing up for a little while. Let's put it that way. Or maybe you're learning a new thing that, like, hey, maybe I can do this, and that's interesting and exciting and fun for me as a writer and keeps me growing. Okay, and then last one off the old list. And again, if you don't get your questions answered today, just add them to the list. We'll throw them in there. Eventually, I'm probably going to do one of these streams just with frequently asked questions, because a lot of questions would show up over and over, and I don't mean to ignore you. It's just I don't want to have people listening to the same answers again and again, as much as I can help it. Samantha Glover, you have written in before, and you have excellent questions. You say, I'm working on my debut novel and trying to figure out what subgenre of fantasy it falls under. Did you have this issue? How did you discover what subgenre fit the Night Angel trilogy? My advice is don't worry about it. Just seriously, don't worry about it at all. If I think about the Night Angel trilogy, you'd probably put the first book as maybe sword and sorcery or kind of adventure fantasy. It's very limited. It's very, very, very bounded. And then as the series went along, it definitely becomes epic fantasy by the time you're done. And I did that on purpose. If I'd been worrying about subgenres, I might have asked myself things like, are those even the same audiences? The people who like a sword and sorcery, are those people who like epic fantasy? What if they don't? What if I'm alienating my audience because I'm giving them different kinds of books as we go along? Am I making myself unmarketable because this doesn't fall neatly into this subgenre? So that would have been terrible advice for me to try to write to a subgenre. It would have limited me, and it would have hurt those novels. So I think subgenres are artificial. You're already in the science fiction and fantasy section. You're already genred out in a certain way, as much as the commercial machine needs you to be in order to put your books in the right section for people to find them. So subgenres are just a shortcut for people. So do your own thing, and I think maybe people will eventually call a subgenre after you. They'll say things like, "Oh, it's got a Sam Glover kind of a vibe. It's this kind of novel." Or whatever. And sorry if you hate being called Sam. All right, I'm going to leave all the other old questions for some other time, and I'm going to jump over to your live questions. Krista Evans, you wear gloves because your hands get cold. Actually, my hands are cold today, but they don't usually get cold. I used to actually literally write with a candle, and in my first apartment, my wife's and my apartment, when we first got married, it would get really cold, and so that was a cheap way to do some heating. was having some candles, so I'd sort of warm up my hands. I even did little fingerless glove things for a while. Does that sound like it's totally made up? It's not. I actually did those, but they annoyed me, and then my fingertips still got cold anyway. So yeah, these days. I'm just rolling in it. So when I get cold, I usually just turn up the temperature, or I put on a sweater. Never pants though. Yes, I did just say that out loud. Dang it. Isaac, you are here. Isaac, I don't recognize you, but I'm glad. Lori Ann Irvine, my plague hair does not look so bad. Oh, well, thank you. It's actually gotten long enough that the poof has fallen down of its own weight. What do you guys think about the beard? Pretty gray, huh? I'm not sure about it. It's been killing me. The itch. Tell you what. Yeah, Craig Hanks. Yes, Homer. Of course. Yes, I should have mentioned Homer. He's gonna be so pissed at that fire someday with me. All right, let's see. Now I have to actually try to talk and absorb the questions at the same time, which Benny says, hey, Brent, Liv sucked. Wait, it auto-advanced. Why did the thing auto-advance? This is terrible. Comment moderation. Facebook, you guys stink. Seriously, it just totally disappeared. I think Betty said something about Liv sucked. The books were great though. Thanks. So, well, thanks. That's obviously exactly what I was going for. I'm so glad that let's see. I'm putting my marketing hat on. I'm so glad that Liv produced such a passionate response among my fans. Sort of like Game of Thrones season 8, huh? Whew. Okay, let's step away from that one. Sorry, this thing is advancing your questions. Kind of in the middle of me trying to look at your questions, so that's really irritating. All right, Tim Harris. Tim is Tim has had he's been a big help on some of my books before. He's been a beta reader and has a keen eye. Okay. Okay. Not a book question. Okay, that's good. Tim asks, what's something you're thankful for in the current conditions? I am, wow, this is just going to make people hate me. I'm glad I don't live in a tiny apartment. I love our children. I love that we're getting to spend time with them. But man, it is good to have my own space. I have this little writing shed, so I can still go out and work, which has been wonderful. So you know, there's all the anxieties and whatnot. Seasonal allergies during this thing have been really not fun. Like, you come down with a sudden, like, my throat's sore. Oh my God, I'll probably be dying tomorrow. Nope, just allergies. So I've been glad to have an American sized house in keeping our mental health, keeping my sanity. I'm not gonna answer the second part of your question, which is excellent, Tim. Mostly because I think it gets into I think it crosses over into how people should understand books, and I want people to make most of the decisions for themselves. I'd be happy to talk that question with you privately some other day, or like at a signing when we are when people aren't videoing it, because you know, sort of a smaller intimate group. I feel like I can say things that I wouldn't just say the whole internet. Aurelia Everlast, that's a great question. That's a long question. I will try to answer that one of these other times. Elisa Roberts says, speaking of FAQs, I have a great novel idea. Any chance you could write it for me? Watch it. I will out you, and then bad things will happen. I know things about you. I know where you live. We'll leave that one alone. Linda Page says, will we ever see more Kylar? Yes. I won't tell you how close. Jennifer, I'm glad you're able to make it too. Here is a silver lining. Okay, apparently I screwed up something about that last thing to Tim. Because he's in Australia. Gotcha. Sorry. That was a sidebar conversation with somebody who's texting me, and I am just a terrible streamer, you guys. I'm working on it, but my skills. Whew. Colleen, I'm not going to answer that in the right here. Nice to see you. Any chance of a prequel or sequel into the Lightbringer series? Anthony Macaluso asks. I've got this. I've got a sort of sequel / prequel, both novella that's about half written. That I don't know if I'm gonna spend the time finishing it. So I had some material that I cut from one of the characters' plot lines, but it doesn't yet have enough story for me to justify putting it out there and charging people money for it. I always want to feel like I gave you something really good for whatever I charge you for. So even though it's already basically almost novella length, it doesn't feel like a complete story. and I don't know when I will spend, if I will spend the time on that, because right now I'm into the next novel. I'm really enjoying that. I'm not stuck, and that's that's something that I promised you guys that I'm going to be writing next. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, we're at about 20 minutes, which they tell me is kind of the golden zone. I should be shutting it down here. So I'm gonna answer one or two more questions. Just give me a second to scroll through your comments and grab what we can here. Just Mellifan asked about my plants. I have no idea what these plants are called, but they're legal and not just in Oregon. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate the ranting and raving. Joy also disliked Liv. Okay. Well, thanks. Got it. Got the message. Actually, that's the thing. Some of you who have been around here before have probably heard me talk about this. But Liv is one of the times where I think I actually made a mistake, or I did make a mistake. I messed up first impressions, and first impressions with characters are really, really important. So, like, when you know things about a character that the reader doesn't know, that makes you understand them and be a little kinder to them, or give them the benefit of the doubt. But the reader doesn't know those things. The reader can hate your characters that you love, or that you at least feel some sympathy for. And then once readers hate a character, you're gonna have to work really, really hard to overcome that. I changed what I was going to do with Liv because I saw that reader reaction was just really different than what I had expected it to be. And so it's like, okay, I can't use her for some of the things that I had hoped I would be able to use her for, which was fine. I was able to, that was after the first book. So I was able to change tack very easily, and I was able to use her for other things, which worked out. I'm very happy with how it worked out. But it's an interesting thing. Like, as an author, you need to be keeping an eye, I think, on how things are coming across to readers. It's like, one, you're always having to explain things. So if things are not, if your exposition isn't good, then readers aren't understanding things. So you need to keep in mind how readers are experiencing your world, and how they experience the characters is part of that. And so you can just mess up. And with Liv, I did. So I looked at that. I said, is this betraying my fundamental vision to do something different with Liv? The answer was no. And so I changed. In other places, it's like, yeah, I want you to hate this person, and I'm going to change your mind over a long course. But it really depends on what you've set the character up to do. The left bar may stop the scroll. Thank you. Yeah, I shouldn't have commented on Game of Thrones. That there's probably no upside there, is there? Okay. Will you do a virtual book tour? I hope we are not still in lockdown when the next book comes out, which I don't know when that's going to be, but it's coming along just fine. No promises on when it's coming out. That's a really long question to answer. A good question. Kayla Mary Catherine. Okay, what am I writing next? Okay, well that is still secret at this point. I've made numerous. I've thought about breaking the secret. It's definitely going to be in the Night Angel world, and it will have characters that at least show up. So I have big plans for it. It's going very well, and that's all I have to say about now. Hold on. My assistant is virtually nudging me to answer one last question. Okay. Hey, Alex Biddy. That I'm really sorry to hear that. I'll answer this question. Are there any plans for a possible new series? Yeah. I mean, what I'm writing now was maybe a standalone, and maybe a series, and it's looking more like like a series. Um, Not because I can't write a standalone, dang it. But I intend at this point for it to tell an entire story, sort of like I did with Way of Shadows. Like Way of Shadows tells a complete story. It ends, and if you're kind of done with that one, you can put that down, feel like you got a complete story experience, and then leave and never read another Brent Weeks story again, which was awfully foolish of me to do. But I did it. I would plan to do the same thing again with this. That the story gives you a complete story experience, but hopefully there are reasons for you to continue reading. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I will hope to do one of these again next week, maybe with even fewer technical difficulties, and certainly with a longer beard. I may go crazy and cut off the hair, however. All right, thanks so much. I am going to shut this down. Bye.